At least 19 people died when a passenger plane crashed into Lake Victoria in North Tanzania on Sunday while trying to land at a nearby airport. That's according to authorities, who gave the revised number after just 3 deaths were reported earlier. Flight PW494, operated by Precision Air, hit the water during storms and heavy rain. The wreckage could be seen almost fully submerged as rescuers in boats rushed to pull out trapped passengers. This rescuer said water surged in after the emergency door was opened, making it difficult for people to escape the plane. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa visited the crash site and said authorities were trying to figure out who was missing from the list of passenger names. Precision Air said the plane was carrying 39 passengers, including an infant, as well as 4 crew members. The 2 pilots initially survived the crash and were in touch with rescue workers from the cockpit, authorities said, but they later reported their oxygen supply was dwindling and had died by the time rescuers reached them. The 2 flight attendants survived. CEO Patrick Wanry said the airline has set up family assistance centres to provide information and will continue to offer support to the victims and their families. Tanzania's largest privately owned airline said in a statement the plane left the commercial capital Dar es Salaam and crash-landed just before 9 a.m. local time Sunday as it was approaching Bukoba Airport.
I know Pennsylvania well, and John Fetterman is Pennsylvania. He is Pennsylvania.
U.S. President Joe Biden over the weekend blitzed through electoral battlegrounds in the final days before the November 8 midterm elections. In Pennsylvania, he joined former President Barack Obama in support of Democratic candidates for governor and the U.S. Senate, in hopes that this level of star power might sway enough voters to win races in the swing state.
But the power of America is in your hands. It really is.
Both the current and former Democratic presidents doubled down on Republican candidates in the state who reject the results of the 2020 presidential election and were, in their words, dangerous to democracy.
Truth and facts and logic and reason and basic decency are on the ballot. Democracy itself is on the ballot. The stakes are high.
You know, they had a little rally here. Nobody showed up for their rally. Look at this rally.
But Republicans trotted out their own star, former President Donald Trump, who campaigned in Pennsylvania Saturday to shore up GOP candidates. The ex-president derided the Democratic candidates and teased his own potential bid for the White House.
Ooh, look at all of them. They must think I'm going to announce for president tonight. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
In recent weeks, electoral momentum has shifted toward the Republicans after Democrats saw a boost of voter enthusiasm around the issue of defending abortion rights over the summer. But Democratic strategists acknowledge that voters' concerns about inflation and crime have returned to focus. Democrats' early lead in several Senate races, including contests in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada, have shrunk or evaporated completely in recent weeks. Nonpartisan election forecasts and polls show Republicans are heavy favorites to win control in the House of Representatives, with the Senate a toss-up. Control of even one of those chambers would give Republicans the power to block Biden's legislative agenda and launch potentially damaging investigations.
Should rich nations compensate the poorer nations most vulnerable to climate change? It's a question delegates at COP27 in Egypt are adding to the formal agenda for the first time, as the climate summit gets underway from Sunday.
To discuss the pressing issue of funding
At the plenary opening of the summit, COP27 President Sameh Shoukry said such discussions were needed to address gaps in responding to losses and damage caused by climate change.
Inclusion of this agenda reflects a sense of solidarity and empathy with the suffering of the victims of climate-induced disasters. And to this end, we all owe a debt of gratitude to activists and civil society organizations who have persistently demanded a space to discuss funding for loss and damage, and thus provided the impetus needed to bring this matter forward.
For more than a decade, wealthy nations have rejected official discussions on funds they provide to help poorer nations cope with the consequences of global warming. At last year's COP26 in Scotland, high-income nations blocked a proposal for a loss and damage financing body instead supporting a 3-year dialogue for funding discussions. Shukri said some parties had shown reservations to the issue becoming an official part of the COP27 agenda.
So we, I think, can go beyond whatever reservations existed and move forward again and look at the positive development in the inclusion on the agenda, and that this does open the door for a more in-depth, more transparent consultation and negotiation process.
Shukri added that the loss and damage discussions will not guarantee compensation or necessarily acknowledge liability, but are intended to lead to a conclusive decision, quote, no later than 2024.
Twitter has updated its app in Apple's App Store to begin charging $8 for the sought-after blue-check verification marks in some countries. The move on Saturday marks Elon Musk's first major revision of the social media platform. The change coming a week after Musk took over Twitter in a $44 billion deal. The billionaire entrepreneur has cut half the staff at Twitter and vowed to start charging users for blue ticks. In an update to Apple iOS devices, Twitter said those who sign up now for $7.99 a month can receive the blue checkmark next to their usernames, quote, just like the celebrities, companies, and politicians you already follow. Before Musk took over, blue ticks next to a person's username meant Twitter had confirmed the account belonged to the person or company claiming it. It was not immediately clear how or if Twitter planned to verify the identity of the user beyond charging a fee.
A number of major advertisers have stopped spending on Twitter.
According to the iOS notification, other benefits in the update include half the ads, the ability to post longer videos to Twitter, and priority ranking for quality content. Twitter and Musk did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Twitter's new boss flagged the updates earlier this week in his push to monetize the social media network and make it less reliant on ads. Twitter's update said the new service with verification will be available in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom.
Crucial midterm elections on November 8 will decide control of the U.S. Congress. But determining a final winner could take hours after polls close, or maybe even days. The key factor will be how, and how quickly, different states count what will likely be a mountain of mail-in ballots. The Washington Post on Sunday reported that the number of early votes so far cast exceeds the 2018 midterms, more than 39 million ballots. Some states, such as Florida, open mail-in ballots and load them into the tabulators ahead of Election Day to speed up the count. But others, such as Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, cannot open mailed-in ballot envelopes until Election Day. Because Democrats vote by mail more often than Republicans, states that get an early jump in counting mail ballots could show large Democratic leads, a so-called blue mirage, which then evaporate as vote counters tally Republican ballots cast on Election Day. States that are slower to count mail-in ballots could similarly show a red mirage, as heavily Republican Election Day ballots are cast first before the mail-in votes are tabulated. All 435 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives are on the ballot, as well as 35 U.S. Senate seats and 36 governorships. The balance of power is close. Republicans need to pick up just 5 seats to form a majority in the House, and only 1 to control the Senate. An early and massive red wave could lead to a Republican victory in a matter of hours after polls close. But key states like Pennsylvania have already warned it could take days to count every ballot. The first wave of vote tallies are expected on the East Coast between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. As polls close in the Midwest, control of the U.S. House could be clear by 11 p.m. Eastern. But if the fight still looks close, as vote tallies come in from the West Coast, it could take a matter of days to know. California, Nevada, and Washington all count late arriving ballots if they are postmarked by November 8. The Senate may take even longer. If Georgia's Senate race is as close as expected, and no candidate receives more than 50% of the vote, a runoff election would be scheduled for December 6. That could leave control of the chamber in limbo until then.